There it was again, that feeling that I was being watched. It was around noon in Singapore. The sweltering heat makes people imagine things, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't imagining this one. It was a man in the middle of the sidewalk just standing there, but the strangest thing was on his face. Or, rather, the lack of his face. In one hand he held a briefcase, and in the other I couldn't make it out. Whenever I looked at it, it felt like I had an imposing magnet simply pushing my eyes away. I tried for about a minute before somebody pushed me aside saying, "Watch it." So I continued along my way. I went to work and got to my desk and saw it again. It was walking towards me, briefcase and that thing in a hand. I went pale and started sweating. I made a lame excuse about needing to go to the bathroom to my cube neighbor and went to the bathroom. I locked myself in there and went into the corner. But when I finally felt safe, it walked straight through the door. I sat there, mouth agape, and watched as it moved its object in its hand closer and closer to my face. And when it touched, I blacked out. I woke up still sitting in that same spot, lamely trying to come up with an excuse to tell my boss why I was in there for so long. When I unlocked the door and stepped into the office, it was completely deserted. In fact, it looked like nobody had been there for years. Cobwebs in corners, potted plants withered away, dust carpeting everything, and the carpet rotten under my feet. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the corpses. They were scattered around the office. They looked like they had been stabbed by something, and the others were cocooned in some sort of string. I saw my boss and went over to him. I went to pry the string off of him and swore. The string was strongly acidic and it burned my hand. The smell of charred flesh hung putrid in the air, and I turned my head to the windows, and what I saw, well, it made my heart sink into my feet. I looked out the window and saw massive spiderwebs connecting each and every towering skyscraper, apartment complex, and tree, and massive spiders were skittering across them. I knew that one had to be inside here too. I ran to the genetics lab, the most secure place in the building, and was stopped by a wall of webs. It was thick enough that I couldn't see the other side. I threw some staplers and tape dispensers at it, and they just melted. Blobs of molten plastic dripping down the stringy wall. I went over to the break room, trying to figure out what had happened. The break room was not affected by the same strings, but it looked like they had all taken their own lives. There were newspaper clippings on the company refrigerator, all saying the same thing. An explosion at SciAS Genetics Lab triggered a signal to all SciAS buildings with an unknown cause. Could it be data? Could it be some sort of hidden project, a last resort? We don't know. Future update pending. And underneath it, in red marker, somebody wrote, "It released the mutants." I realized what this meant. All my life I had been working on spiders, how to make them less scary, how to make them live longer, while other places in other countries are working on different things. I knew that it was our fault. We had doomed mankind. I bellowed in anger and sprinted down the hallway, but I looked down and saw millions upon millions of tiny strings along the floor. They sizzled into my boot as I realized a terrible truth. These were sensors. I sprinted from the bathroom, hoping to escape, and saw a large spiderweb in the way. I slowed down so I could find another route. Then, a massive spider burst through the wall. About 3 meters in height and 5 in length. It was terrifying. I had no choice. I ran through the web head first and made it into the bathroom just in time. In the room there was one more thing, and as my eyes melted off, the last thing they ever saw was a silver stick with a button on the top next to the black briefcase. I pressed it, and I blacked out. I woke up in the hospital, unable to see. I heard somebody say, "You're finally awake? I thought you would never wake up." And I sat up. I could see, but I could not. Everything I saw was in black and white, but I could see, and I sat up, grabbed the stick, and the case with my laptop in it, and walked out. They tried to get me back in, but I just left. I'm typing this from a hotel I'm staying at. I don't know what just happened, but I'm sure it's nothing good. And now I'm going to take a shower. I need to get the bandages off and go to work. I don't know what's happening, but I need help. Please, someone, anyone, tell me what's going on.